It's becoming more and more common for working professionals to have short-term jobs at some point in their careers. While loyalty is a quality that loses out to results, hiring managers don't love to see short-term jobs on a resume. A series of short-term jobs does raise some red flags. But since time travel hasn't been invented yet, and you can't go back and change your career, I'm here to show you a resume strategy that will minimize those red flags and bring the reader's focus to your results. If you want weekly job search tips, tricks, and hacks that will help you get interviews faster, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications for when I drop my next video. My videos will equip you with some of the most valuable tools and information to make your job search easier, because job searching shouldn't be this hard. I'm Kamara Toffolo, resume writer, LinkedIn consultant, and job search strategist who helps working professionals dare to do work differently and land great fitting gigs. There are a number of reasons that you might find yourself with a short-term job or a series of short-term jobs. For example, you may have had to take on temporary work as you still searched for your dream job. Or perhaps you're a consultant or contractor who does project-based work or assignment-based work. And short-term roles or short-term gigs are the natural state of the work that you do. Or maybe due to no fault of your own, you've found yourself in bad-fitting roles or toxic workplaces that you had to leave. These are just a few of the possibilities. No matter the reason, the perception when someone is reading your resume could be a negative one. But there's really no point in worrying about that perception. Instead, focus on what you want the reader to focus on. And that is the value and the results that you can create for their company. So how do we make sure we're bringing the focus to value and results? First, I'm assuming that you've already identified your target job. If you haven't done that yet, stop this video right now and come back to it only after you've nailed down what your target job is. No resume writing should happen until you're crystal clear on what you're going after. After all, you don't drive your car without a destination in mind unless you really love wasting time and energy. So now, since you're clear on what your target job is, you'll have a good idea of what the ideal candidate needs to bring to the role in terms of strengths and skills. With that in mind, I'd like you to pause this video right now and spend 5 minutes for each of your short-term jobs. And think about all of your greatest accomplishments in those short-term roles. And write these down in a document or in a notebook, wherever. It doesn't really matter. We just need to revisit them later on in this video. When writing these accomplishments down, give consideration to things like how you maybe made money for the company, how you may have saved money for the company, how you may have saved yourself, your team, or your company some time, how you may have saved your team or your company from a major headache or problem, how you may have made your client money, how you may have made your clients' lives easier, how you may have enabled success for your clients or your team, or anything else that you can think of where you changed something or made something better or created a new positive outcome. Watch the video that I linked in the description below titled How to Track Your Work Accomplishments for more tips on how to actually write down these accomplishments. So go ahead and start writing. I'll wait. All done? Great. Now let's get into some examples of how we'll go about dealing with short-term gigs on our resume. So let's take a look at example number 1, which is a series of similar short-term roles. So of all the short-term role possibilities, this is the most ideal. If you have a series of similar short-term roles, we can easily group these roles together. So in taking a look at Michael's resume, let's say Michael was a contract sales representative for a variety of companies with 3 individual 6-month contracts over the last couple of years or so. So here is how we might group them together. What we've put here is contract sales representative as sort of an umbrella term. Maybe the role titles varied, but they all fell under the umbrella of being a contract sales representative. Then we put the total date range. So not the 6-month increments, but the total date range from starting his first contract to ending his last contract. And finally, then we'll put his actual companies. We're not just putting one company, we're putting all of his companies and their locations. And then what we want to do is include a few bullets for the absolute best accomplishments to be highlighted. And we're not selecting all the accomplishments across all 3 of these contracts, but we're selecting the absolute best accomplishments across all 3 of these contracts. And that's what you can highlight in those bullets. So this example we're looking at works really well for people who might be temp workers or a specialist type of contractor or consultants. Of course, the longer your period of short-term roles, you can add more accomplishments, and you can also consider subcategorizing those accomplishments depending on what skills you want to highlight. Is this making sense so far? If so, comment with the OK emoji below and let me know. So let's take a look at example number 2, which is a series of unrelated short-term roles. Not ideal, but not a big deal either. So let's say Michael was a contract sales representative, a contract sales analyst, and a contract client services representative. These are all pretty different, so we can't exactly consolidate them. We'll need to separate each one of them out. But the key here is we need to make sure that we're not using an excessive amount of resume real estate for each. We need to aim to keep each brief, and I'd recommend a couple or a few bullets at most. For the bullets that you do highlight, you're going to use the first one to give context to the role itself and talk about maybe what your main responsibility or mandate was. And you might also want to mention that it was a contract role if you don't mention it in the title itself. And for bullet 2 and 3, you'll want to include your absolute best accomplishments for that particular contract. These are the accomplishments that you were writing about earlier in this video. You're picking the best, the absolute best stuff. And finally, if the role ended due to a reorg or COVID or something else out of your control, you can clarify that and add that information or explanation with a final bullet. So let's take a look at our third example. This one's going to be a short-term role in the middle of longer-term roles, maybe a role that we're not so proud of. Sometimes we need to take bridge jobs to make ends meet. This is normal and nothing to be ashamed of. Let's say Michael had to take a bridge job when he first moved to Colorado to be with Holly. And because of his prior experience, let's say he joined a company that sold weight loss supplements, like when he was selling ephedrine in Scranton. Maybe Michael's not particularly proud of this role, in which case we can just include a one-liner that says he was a contract sales representative at Biggest Loser Telemarketing and give the date range for which he held that contract. And that's it. That one-liner will suffice. Finally, let's take a look at example number 4. So let's say this is a short-term role that Michael held in the middle of longer-term roles that he is proud of. So just like example 2, we're going to give this just the right amount of resume real estate. We're only going to use a few select bullets that highlight, again, our mandate and our best accomplishments and the possible reason that we may no longer be in the role due to a layoff, COVID, or a similar reason that isn't being fired, of course. And again, for the accomplishments, it's our best stuff. We're picking the best accomplishments from that time. So in summary, what we really want to do here is bring the reader's focus to the value that we created and away from the brevity of our short-term roles. We do this by keeping the amount of real estate we use tight and showcasing the absolute best stuff, not all the stuff. So here's my cue for you. Which of the examples that we just went over applies to you? And when are you going to apply that strategy to your resume? Tell me in the comments below. I make a lot of videos, posting at least one video a week, whether it's live or recorded. But in addition to the videos I make, I also make free guides to help you in your job search. My latest guide is a cover letter guide and checklist. If that sounds like something that would help you, look for the link to sign up for it in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with a friend, or click on my face. I think it's there. I don't really know. I never do. And subscribe. And I'll see you next week. It's possible that the perception of these short-term roles on your resume will be considered negative. That's not right. Let's get into some resume examples of actually putting this in